Cool. Thank you, Frederick. Very, very kind. So, what's new? Well, here we go. Let's have a look. This is what I'm going to talk about. Very good of you to come. It's exciting to be here. I'm glad to see you. So, there are some new things in development. One of the things that we're excited about is the depth and diversity of contribution. And the new thing here is, I guess, that we're continuing to climb. Clearly, we have to replace quite a lot of these, Oracle people that disappeared somehow with productive new style people who hack for fun and not for money. And so we're doing well there. There's growing diversity, and it's extremely encouraging. So I'm pleased by that. What perhaps pleases me more is that the OpenOffice codebase never really, it had some unit tests, but really they weren't run consistently. And now we run a whole load of unit tests every time we build. And, well, more than that, we're growing this suite of tests. So there's a tenfold increase since 3.4.0, I guess close to when we started 2 years ago. And these continue to grow. I guess 100 tests. It's only top-level tests. There's lots and lots and lots of sub-tests inside each of those. So the hope is that as you fix bugs, and there are plenty of bugs to fix, those bugs then stay fixed permanently. So there's a lot of work going on there, and that's pretty encouraging. What else do we have? We have lots of bug filing going on. That's also good. We like bugs to be filed. Many of these have been there for a long time, but people like to file them and point them out to us and so on. One of the things we really need help with is closing the gap here. I don't know if you see these light green ones here. These are the bugs that are in an unconfirmed state and need help. So if you get bored in my talk, there is a wiki here, bug triage. You can go to wiki.documentfoundation.org and you can just help out. All we need to do is look at the bug, go check it works or doesn't work on OpenSUSE or Gentoo, or whatever you happen to be using, and then just mark the state new if it is. It'd be nice to search for some duplicates to help us. So either way, the backlog there is pretty static. What else? Well, we have a huge influx of people who've never programmed on the code before, some entirely new with very few programming skills, some absolutely expert, of course, large numbers of them. And so the concern is when you start doing radical scale code change to a 25-year-old code base with new programmers, what do you expect to happen, right? It's supposed to be a disaster. Well, actually, it turns out that broadly, our regression count is static over time. So whenever you use LibreOffice, you're no more likely to get something that doesn't work, that used to, than you were in the past. That's the big picture from 10,000 feet. Which is interesting, isn't it? So if anyone tells you that cleaning up code is, creating badness and damage and is a silly thing to do, why would you want the code to be clean and readable, when you could have it horrible but tested, then, just show them the graph and say, look, we could have a nicer place to work that's easier to read, easier to understand, and in fact, it wouldn't really make things substantially worse, which is great. And one of the more encouraging things here is that, in the past, we've had problems encouraging users to actually test the software before it's released. Now, in the SLES world, I guess, we have this experience that people wait until Service Pack 1, It's very much like that. So one of the things we do is we try and release lots of service packs, so we have this frantic pace of release activity, so development, I've got a whiteboard. Last time I did this, it turned out to be a projection screen, and this turned out to be a permanent pen. So, but anyway, so master is going along crazily like this, and so we branch off, for 3.5, and we carry on, and we're doing 3.6 here on master, I guess, and then we do 3.5.1 and 0.2 and so on, and these happen something like 3 weeks in case we've got any really paper bag cock-ups in the first version, and then 1 month each time. So every month there's one of these, which will be fine, except we're also releasing the previous thing at the same time. So we're doing 3.4. By the time we get to here, 3.4.7 or something is at the same time as this guy. So there's kind of a frenetic pace of activity, and you'll see some of those releases out there. But the punchline is, whatever level of stability you are looking for, we have a release for you. There is if you're a Service Pack 8 person, we can provide that. And of course, the speed of fixing trails off here at the end. But what we've really wanted to do is get more people testing this code here. because ideally, the point zero release is not at all embarrassing. It is this perfection of beauty and stability. And so the people here are particularly cool on the slide because they are the ones that have filed essentially blocker bugs against master, all of which have been fixed except 2 in the last few things. So if you can run master, do. It's relatively usable. It's unlikely to crash and burn. And hey, it encourages you to back up your data. So that must be a good thing to learn. Get the infrastructure in place. Extremely, extremely useful to have that ahead of time feedback. So other things we've done in the code, we've been doing some of this cleanup I've told you about. One of these it's just interesting to me. I sadly was on the train trying to write the slides, so I don't actually have the numbers. But when you look at the numbers, there's really 3 projects derived from the code base. There's OpenOffice, and there's Apache OpenOffice, and there's LibreOffice. And in terms of lines of code, we're smaller. We're smaller than OpenOffice, and we're significantly smaller than this. And yet we've added a whole load of features that aren't present in either of those. It's not encouraging. And so, to some degree, lines of code aren't a measure of functionality, but it's nice to see loads of dead stuff being ripped out, loads of old, crufty, badly written features ripped out and gone permanently, which is nice. And one of the symptoms of that is just, I guess, this unused code removal. So we have various ways of detecting unused code. Of course, direct linking provides a nice heuristic for that. Sadly, we don't have something very good for unused virtual methods. That's kind of a more global problem, I guess. If anyone wants to write a beautiful Clang plugin or something for us, that would be much appreciated. But we can at least detect some of these unused methods. So, we start off with 5 and a bit thousand, and we're now essentially at 0, thanks to these mostly volunteers. So, again, if you're one of them, thank you so much. What else? Well, lots of localization stuff is going on. I think... we've gone from 107 to 109 languages. The quality's improving there. One of the interesting things is that we ship all of our languages out of the box. So even if you are a Welsh language translator or Icelandic, I don't know, think of some small, I don't know what a small language group is. Perhaps you have one in mind. But even if you're that guy, we will ship your localization in our download, and we do some pretty hard work to try and shrink that down and pack all those in. But we don't ship the help. So in order to do that, in order to have one binary that runs anywhere in your language, we rip the help out and put that online by default, although you can download it separately. So that's nice. It gives an even level playing field to all languages, we hope. So that's pretty cool. Lots of active users there. And so there's a lot of nice deployment stories coming out at the moment, So in Germany, I was just at the LibreOffice conference just before here, just arrived, and hosted by the federal government, the Ministry of Information and Technology, which was cool. But Munich is here, so they did the risk assessment. The migrations are happening, and that diversity and strength is really important to people. Region, Umbria, Limerick loves LibreOffice. Alliterative somethings are good. Yeah, so there you go. Lots of Irish people living. The French Ministry of I don't know what it really means. Interministerial Ministry, mutualization. I don't know. They're in charge of this kind of thing. So they are doing it. The Paris region distributing LibreOffice on USB keys to all of the students in their region, hundreds of thousands of people. Las Palmas, a very forward-looking place. Chicago Public Library, Lago, Florida, and so on, so on, so on. Lots of big deployments moving to LibreOffice, which is encouraging to see that trend of movement to a free system. So, and many of those from Windows, incidentally. It's not just necessarily replacement. So downloads as well, interestingly. The vast majority of our downloads come on Windows, of course. Well, arguably, many of our downloads come from Linux, various different flavors as well, where, LibreOffice is effectively completely dominant. There's nothing else shipping there. There's some slight problems here. If anyone wants to join our sysadmin group, that would be fantastic. We lost our logs here, and there's also some rounding error at the end, which, or I don't know, there's some kind of parsing error with these logs, and it would be nice to fix that. So you can't believe the last bit or the gap in the middle. But this shows you also the volume is relatively reasonable at 600,000 downloads a week. I'm quite happy with 100,000 a day is good, but we want to be higher. Firefox is at 1 million a day. Is that right? Yeah. So we've got a bit of a way to go. So download it several times when you get home. That's the Every little helps. Never mind. So you can see some of the versions here. So just that skew of versions and the regular time-based release schedule. I say it's a regular schedule. We slipped it a bit here to line up better with the normal cadence of upstream projects. So the GNOME guys and I forget. There's several other people that release. I guess the kernel people do this too. That are trying to synchronize releases to a sort of 6-monthly cadence. And so we release at totally the wrong time for that. So we release hopefully such that our 0.1 or our 0.2 version is round about when people have traditionally shipped their desktops. Of course, SUSE does a different length release cycle, which makes it hard to fit in with that. But there you go. It's unfortunate. So we have people who are professional gamblers in our project. There's room for everyone. And they come up with numbers like this. So, there you go. Guesstimated number of users. So we think, if we have all of Linux, you can read the Gartner reports. I don't know how many Linux users there are. The Gartner thinks they have a 2-yearly upgrade cycle. 30 million or so Linux users, 20 million direct downloads from our websites, lots of CDs and corporate deployments and so on that aren't affiliated with us. About 60 million users. That's pretty good. It's still not very good. With 1.5 billion PCs, that's still only, handfuls of percent, isn't it, of the thing, but it's something, right? It's better than nothing. And the scope to grow, that's good. There's a big upside potential with LibreOffice. Anyhow, so I was going to talk to you about some of the new features in recent LibreOffice versions. Some of them are particularly cool. I could probably do some demos. Maybe we will. But unfortunately, I didn't have time to get the slides in. Perhaps I'll do some more later if I run out of time. Incidentally, I speak very quickly. Is that a problem for anyone? Wave your hands if you want me to slow down. You see? You find it. You find it quite unclear. I'm sorry about that. I can slow down. Let me do that. So we have a pipeline of research things going on, which are quite fun. And so there are a number of prototypes out there. And one of these prototypes is Tor Lilquist here. He's wearing yellow without the hat, so that he's disguised. So one of these is the Android viewer, which hopefully, if you stay later, you can see Tor demo more effectively than I can. And well, so the other thing is that it's running sort of in a shrunken mode inside an ARM emulator inside my computer. So it's not the world's quickest thing in the world. So let's see if even the legendary speed of LibreOffice. Oh, it's finished. Actually, it turns out it was running in the background anyway. So that's kind of cheating. But so here is a document, and Tor has composed this very nicely to have slightly different page layouts. And so on. And pinch to zoom also doesn't work very well without a touch screen. So we don't do that. But let me assure you that were I to pinch and were you to see it, it would zoom, which is good. So a simple viewer to start with. One of the problems, of course, with Android is just the sheer volume of user interface that we have. And I'll come on to an easy hack around that later where you could get involved and make a real difference. But clearly our user interface is designed for mouse users. People who do point and clicks very precisely. And the whole tablet touch world, people have big fat fingers and very small devices, with retina displays. And so, the touch area is just huge in comparison with mouse. So our UI is just unworkable on a touch device. But we're improving that slowly. And so this viewer has, a custom user interface. So that's pretty nice. I think, we have I don't know if I have the Android remote control on here. And I don't even have slides of that. That really sucks. We'll have to look at that in a minute. Hopefully we can get online. Let me see. So one of the interesting things, well, go to Tor's talk. He will tell you a lot about Android. And it's a very interesting thing under the hood for writing apps on. So 229 megabytes. Not as small as you might hope yet. Anyhow, don't let me steal Tor's talk. It's after this one. I do recommend it. Some of this comes out of the cross-compiling work that's been done to make LibreOffice, compile from one thing to another. So one of our great white hopes was to cross-compile to Windows. Because building on Windows is currently just a hideous nightmare. We use Cygwin, for example, which is a hideous nightmare. And, Linux distributions, sort of at the very beginning of time, when you wind it all the way back, they decided it was a good idea to have what's called releases. So every now and then you try and make it stable, and then you put it together, and you usually stamp a number on it, or a date, or whatever, or a silly name, of a funny animal, and you push it out of the door, and you say, that is the Fludling Blager release, This concept hasn't got into the Cygwin world, unfortunately. Or has it? Have they done a release yet at all? No. Okay. So the project has been around for decades and years, and there's still not a release. It's like wine, except even wine has done a release now. Anyway, the hope is that one day they will do a release, and that this release might be supported and improve in quality. But as it is at the moment, you download something which is different to what anyone else has, and you hope that it works. And it's not wonderful. But the second problem is, of course, that forking on Windows is really, really slow, for reasons best known to Microsoft, and so the build just takes for ages. Even on a fast machine, it's very bad. Whereas on a very big Linux machine, which we happen to have lots of at SUSE, you can compile this thing in the matter of handfuls of minutes from scratch, which is nice. But it turns out that this work that we did is brilliant for cross-compiling to Android, to iOS, and potentially from, Linux, Mac, to either of those, I guess. As I say. And the latest code there is all in master. It's there in the next release. So what else? Oh, yes. So the world is all going web, If you're here for the Cloud Office thing earlier, you would have discovered how, we will all be sitting inside our web browsers driving cars soon, Don't click the back button unless you mean to, otherwise the whole application vanishes and you're left in the middle of your road going at speed, yes. I don't know if it's just me, but routinely when I'm away from my desk, traveling the world, I get these sort of panicky phone calls from my family saying, I typed this huge email and it's completely vanished. And I say, oh dear, you pressed the back button, didn't you, while you were typing that in, and now it's gone, And of course, if they'd known, they could have pressed the forward button again, and the magic unbreak the web feature might, if they were lucky, have restored this thing where it was, but they didn't know that, so they clicked randomly trying to, get it back, and it's all gone. Maybe that's why people who write webmail top post and have very short mails. I don't know, just a thought. The other thing is that laptop manufacturers have conspired to make this even worse than it needs to be by putting a button that is effectively the back button next to your left arrow. So this is just a work of genius. I mean, so when you're typing into Bugzilla and you've just put this massive comment of goodness in about all the code pointers or whatever, you're just trying to copy and select something that you can, and then suddenly it's all gone. It's brilliant, isn't it? Anyway, so I'm a real lover of the web. From a user interface perspective, I think this is the pinnacle of what we can achieve as humankind. But that aside, everyone wants web things. It's extremely trendy, and at least until the app world. The app trend is fighting the web trend at the moment. And if you're lucky, you can get web apps, which are like doubly trendy. Although, if you look at the Firefox store, seemingly the owner's only got 500 of them or so in it at the moment. But maybe that will grow. Who knows? So we need a web version. People seem to want that. And so we produced this prototype that renders using the HTML5 canvas, using WebSockets, which is kind of nice. Did some work to upgrade that. And it provides a very simple VNC-like, I guess at the moment, compressed PNG front end for LibreOffice on the web, which is kind of nice. And the bandwidth is pretty low for simple tasks. Let's see a little demo and see if we can get it to work at all, which would be kind of nice. Let me see. Good. And then we need a browser, don't we? One of these things. Ooh, look at that. I think debugging is brilliant. And, people who use debuggers, fprintf is really the solution. But anyway, particularly because the debugger has this alarming habit of not working. But anyway, there we go. LibreOffice. And you can see we've even lost our toolbars, which is particularly impressive. So if I turn on the re-rendering stuff, we can see, as we type, in fact, it's relaying out this bit here, that you see the the chunk around. But actually all that's really sent is the bit that actually changes. So you can see the cursor maybe blinking there and getting a little bit, which is kind of nice. One of the other things that's quite fun is that, this is a relatively full-feature Office suite. Let me turn off the re-rendering because that's really quite annoying. So you can get happy and sad faces. As a general approach, he's just seen his Microsoft Office license go up, and then, he discovers LibreOffice and is eternally happy. We can also do some quite fun things that would be very hard to do in any other way. One of them I like, when I've had a hard day and I want to be testing something, to get my mind off, other stuff, is this. Now, let me just shuffle this. So this is basically a VBA application, and obviously it takes a lot of thought. I don't know what your advice is here, but brilliant! I won. Congratulations, 7 moves. Look at that. So that's written in VBA. That's an XLS file. That's imported into the browser, running at full fidelity, potentially distributable to lots of people. And you may think that's a silly demo, but actually this is quite a common business case. So lots of people have built their company around spreadsheets in various ways, or stupid workflows, macro-enabled, form-driven somethings. And so when you do your traveling to get reimbursed, you have to fill out the form. The form uses and requires Microsoft Office. And so, of course, you could deploy LibreOffice everywhere, but you don't want to deploy things everywhere. So why not, install Linux everywhere and whack this on a central server? And so you just say, follow this link. There it is. You fill the form in, and it gets sent. And you don't need to manage or install an Office suite. So, in theory, there's a nice kind of business case here. But consider the joy, the deep joy, of writing this all in JavaScript. A JavaScript Visual Basic interpreter, a JavaScript Office suite that lays it out. All of the controls done just right. All the object model, and all in JavaScript. I think that's going to make your application small, lightweight. It's going to run on any device with a couple of gigabytes of memory and a couple of hertz of processor and so on. And it will, be available anywhere that there's a live Office, live internet connection that can handle this kind of massive application in JavaScript. So either way, we're not going with the JavaScript world. We're doing a thick Office suite implementation. And so it's not perfect, but, hopefully it's useful for something. So it's quite fun. Incidentally, if you want to heckle me with questions or just tell me I'm wrong, I know I'm wrong. So, do just shout out, and then we'll all have fun together. Okay, perfect. So, another thing that people want, and that it's really useful, and mostly when they talk about a web Office suite, what they really want is actually collaboration. So, if you go back to the dawn of time, you see initially all software was free. Okay, and then proprietary software, never mind. In the beginning, software was free. But unfortunately, the proprietary software came, and then it wasn't very good. And Microsoft Word 4 and 5, that sort of thing, was not WYSIWYG. You couldn't lay your page out. You had to sort of edit it with plain text and hope that it would come out. Normally, well, then, the miraculous world of WYSIWYG happened, and you could see your page and how things were laid out. And that was beautiful. And you could click and drag and make all of your styles add up and your text beautiful. And then the web was invented. And some years later, people decided that web editors should come along. And suddenly WYSIWYG was killed immediately. It was killed first using a wiki, which is actually a cool thing. I mean, wikis are amazing when you consider that people were used to, sort of clicking and hitting bold. But for the first 5 years or so of wikis, you didn't do that. You hit triple tick, right? And then type something, another triple tick, or near offer. And so for some reason, people decided that they were going to do all this markup stuff, and this was a good thing because of the collaboration feature. So clearly, collaboration makes people do the most amazing things, if you can get to collaborate. I think Facebook is living proof of that, as you can see, if you go and look at the photos on it. People will give up anything for collaboration, and we want to make collaboration work really well in LibreOffice, so you can share documents and edit them. One of our problems is that, I'll get onto that in a minute. So one of the problems is to do with the design of LibreOffice. Any arbitrary 25-year-old code base has a number of architectural issues in it. And, so ideally you have this beautiful model view controller split in your software, You can probably think of some other abstractions and splits that it has as well. the filters are totally decoupled from the core, and this and that and the other, and it's all beautiful, right? Well, and so that makes things like collaboration relatively easy, or you can think of various kinds of models that might look nice on the whiteboard. Well, for this conference only, I've drawn a special view of the internal architecture of LibreOffice for you, okay? So this is how it's designed. So there's kind of a complete mess of concerns, Does it blend? Yes, and someone's blended it already, it turns out. So it's not quite as bad as some of that. I mean, I was hacking on a piece of software recently to control a 3D printer, which is cool. I have one in my workshop. And there was this charmingly named class, the Model View Controller class. And guess what it did? Everything, brilliant. One class that does it all. That's object-oriented programming for you. Very, very encouraging. So how can we turn that into something that actually collaborates in a meaningful way? Well, so I think basically we give up on really breaking the design down first. If the first step is completely re-architecting the software, you don't win, it turns out. You don't get anywhere at all, not even slightly. And so instead we're taking this approach of, various sacrifices of requiring hard ordering and not doing, sort of like all this composable operation magic in our core, but instead effectively, and you'll see in a second. So what do we do? In Calc, basically, as you type into your cell, you don't actually touch the model of your spreadsheet. So you type, hello world or whatever, and instead of sending this straight to the model, we actually send this to a messaging bus. And then we do absolutely nothing. And if you type into another cell, we also send that to said messaging bus. And we rely on that to strongly order the things that come back. So everyone that connects to this bus gets the same stream of edit operations coming at them. And so all we do is that instead of applying this operation and then trying to unwind orders and do clever things, we simply apply the stream of edits that come in the order they come in from the messaging bus. Hopefully then everybody gets the same edits in the same order and has a consistent document model. And we don't need a clever server. It turns out there are servers that guarantee this already, and they're basically Jabber chat rooms. I believe this is a property of the magic of Google Talk and various other Jabber servers. And so that's really beautiful. It's an elegant thing. You don't need a clever server. You can bootstrap from your existing IM connection and just collaboratively edit over an existing infrastructure that someone else is paying for, which is even better. So you don't need to spend cash on it. There's always a shortage of cash in free software projects. So, of course, there are some problems there. People can create conflicts. They can insert rows while you're, typing somewhere else and so on. But broadly, the spreadsheet has ways of coping with you inserting a row and ensuring your cursor is actually moved to the right place. So, as long as the lag is not too bad, the user gets to cope with the conflicts themselves, which they're going to have to do anyway. So, I guess that's there. And so this makes it, I guess, implementable in feasible linear time. There's no massive rework. So I have a little demo of that, if it's going to work for me. You never know your luck. I just managed to compile it as I was coming here. And it's not... is it hiding behind? No, it's not. Maybe it's over here. No, it's not. Don't you love that? What I'm going to do is I'm going to kill the LibreOffice install, pkill is, just great. I don't know who wrote that, but... Aha, perfect. So I think the two development versions in parallel just didn't like each other much. Okay, so here we have a spreadsheet, when we have hello and world and, so Jim, Bob, and Bill, something like this. Very Anglo-Saxon, I'm sorry about that. And so we can, create a little chart and pop it in here. I don't know what we're supposed to be doing. Maybe something like this is best. Yeah, okay, perfect. So then we want to collaborate with someone. So we can do this sort of thing. And I'm not going to go for the whole running a Jabber server and locally and then try and make it work. So we have a nasty bus behind the scenes that is basically sending these messages and they come back and we apply them. But it's the same code paths, honest. So there we go. So we can come over here and we can, for example, decide that Jim is in fact much, much shorter than that. you know. And the Bob is a synonym for Greg KH, and even he is not 3 meters tall. So you know we can do something like this, and well, we might as well put his name in, you know, like this. And so that's kind of cool, you know. And you can fiddle around and change various attributes, and they'll all be serialized and broadcast to everybody. So it's kind of fun. Clearly, the concept needs a lot more work. This is a prototype. It works only with a few things. So let me show you where it doesn't work. Well, for a start, it doesn't have a pretty rectangle showing me in this side where the other person is, which can be quite helpful for users to communicate with. Very easy to do. If someone wants to do that, it's kind of one of those quick hacks that you can do that would be cool. Other things that don't work. So if we run the format dialog, for example, what comes out of this is essentially a property bag of key-value pairs. It would be great to serialize that so that suddenly all the formats work and will be shared and collaborate with and so on. And so there's quite a chunk of work there. We have some people looking to finish that. It would be great to have help to make that really, really good. Let me try and get back here. So lots of things there. One of the nice things about what we're doing, of course, is that shared code base, the emphasis on the same code everywhere. So whether it's on your website, whether it's on your Android device, or whether it's on your PC, it's the same code. So as we add new features like collaboration, you know, the hope is that you can then be collaborating across all of these things in a beautiful way, in a very seamless approach. So you think, what a cool project, you know, going well, but there's still lots of things that need doing. You know, there's room for improvement. So how can I get involved? Well, we have easy hacks for you. These are ways to get involved, and we call them easy hacks for two reasons: because they're easy, and because they're hacks. It's radical. And you can get stuck into them. There's a URL here that is just insanely long. I don't know why I put the insanely long URL there. But if you just search for LibreOffice Easy Hacks, that would be cool. Various kinds of different tasks on different scale of difficulty. So, you know, we got the very, very simple tasks at the bottom that require no real skill or programming ability. And I'm not joking. And we also have tasks that need no real skill or programming ability, you know, and that doing them is useful. And they get more and more difficult. And the hope is that we don't find some genius who comes along and discovers a way to programmatically solve all of the easy problems, leaving only the hard problems. That's not what we want. We want people to do a few easy problems, a few harder problems, and stretch themselves until they become this programming genius and community guru, and that's of course the goal. So we like people to do these things, but on the other hand, no one is really blocking on them. So if they don't get done, it's not the end of the world. But you know, we would really like to get them done, and they're significant. You know, individually they add up to make a huge difference, as I hope some of the graphs showed earlier. So one of these is especially good for Germans. I don't know if we have any Germans here. Okay, I'm not German, but I'll put my hand up just to demonstrate putting a hand up. It's good, isn't it? Look, you do it like that. Okay, shame. Were there any Germans here? And, you know, who knows? SUSE is quite a German-centered company. This is a very good thing to do. So we have a whole load of comments in the code that are in German, and we would love to translate to English. Not because I'm English, although I am, but we have French people and Italians and other people who just find it much easier to read English comments. And you'll find usually the comments are there for the most difficult and tangled bits of code. Comments are also probably wrong in some cases, but at least having something that you can understand is very helpful. And Babelfish or whatever doesn't really do it, Google Translate. So we use our automated language guessing scheme, which is there to make sure that spell checking works. So I don't know if you've noticed in LibreOffice, but if you have a huge chunk of check text in the middle of an English document, hopefully we detect the chunk of check text and we use a different dictionary for it. The Czech dictionary. Makes sense, right? And so we use the same stuff to check our comments to see what language they're in. And that's quite cool. And so it'll just dump out great long lists of lines to go look at on modules. It'd be brilliant to help with that. And we're doing quite well, again, here. You know, it's one of those bounded problems that we can get down to zero, which are quite nice to draw a graph about. But, you know, it would be good to accelerate this again, I guess. So about 30,000 of them have gone, which is quite a big job if you're into translating strings. I don't know if there's any translators here, but 30,000 strings is not an overnight job when they're technical documentation, but we still have 22,000 to go. So there's some great guys helping here, particularly Gerhard Oertel. Is doing a fantastic job at the moment. It'd be great to get more people there. One of the real problems with this task is that people get stuck into it, and then they start noticing other problems with the code. You know, they go there to translate comments, and they end up cleaning code, and then they end up fixing bugs, and then they become, you know, sort of full developers, which is a real problem because the comments don't get translated. You know, they wander off and do beautiful features in the user interface, and, you know, have fun doing fun stuff, and the comments stay. But hey, it's still an entry crime. And if you don't know anything about programming, and yet you know your German, you know, reasonably, this is a good way to get involved in programming. I myself got involved in programming not through translating German comments, but through typing in computer games. I don't know, I'm probably very old. But in the days before cover CDs or cover floppies, when tapes were really the way, you could get covered tapes, it's true. But one of the best ways to get a game was to buy a magazine, open it up, and type pages 1 through 15 in, which was really fun. And you pretty soon discovered the syntax because you mistyped things all over the place. And you discovered how to understand the errors that came out. You know, like line 15 is complete nonsense or something. And, you know, you page through this thing. And it was good fun. And at the end of it, you got a game that almost worked, which was cool. But unfortunately, this is dead. You know, it's a dead thing. Nobody is coming into programming this way these days. They do it by cutting and pasting JavaScript on Facebook or something instead, and it's not good for their brains, you know. So if you want to, you know, learn C++ and get involved in a dynamic code base that's going places and make a real difference, this is just a great way to sort of ease yourself in there. Just see me at the end. I can really help you. So if that's even a bit too difficult for you, you know, the concept of opening an editor and you know, and that sort of stuff is scary to you. You know, you like more of a mouse-based point-and-click thing. With very light keyboard skill work, we have a job for you as well. Now, one of the problems with LibreOffice is that the dialogs in it look like something out of The Shining. You know, they really are not terribly good. So if we're doing this, one of the problems is that languages have different lengths of string. And so, well, this is a particularly bad example. Let me try using the word count thing in Writer. But that's usually the worst dialogue in the world, or maybe. Yeah. So the problem with word count dialogue is that all of these characters here, you know, characters excluding spaces, when you write it in one language of the world, it really does consume this much space. You know, it's about twice as long as the English. Now, I don't know what language that is. It changes depending on the string. But that means that every dialogue has to be huge and laid out to fit just that one string. And so it looks, well, I think the problem is that after a while you begin to think that's a feature. So I don't know, maybe if you use other toolkits, you see this dialogue and think, that's ridiculous. Lots of our users start to think this is a deliberate strategy to make it spacious or something. But anyway, so we've created a new layout approach to actually automatically lay this stuff out instead of nailing each pixel on one by hand, which is what happened before. And so the good news is now we can change our dialogues and you know, make them beautiful. Let me get back to my slides before I forget what I'm saying. And but the problem is we need to convert all of these to use an XML file format. Now we continue to use the VCL widgets for various reasons, cross-platform widgets, and they kind of work, and so on all our crazy platforms. But we needed some kind of XML format, so we just happened to use the same one as Glade 2. Now, if you're a KDE guy, I'm sorry it's Glade format, but really it's just a chunk of XML. And there's a little editor there, and that allows you then to draw the same user interface. So, you know, you look at the dialogue, create the same thing in Glade, make it size beautifully with a few containers, save the file, mail it. Mail it to me, Quaylorn, and someone, and we'll then do the code cleanup, which is mostly, again, removing code. Loads and loads of lines of code to make this work nicely. And suddenly, Bing, we have a user interface file that can be improved and tweaked by designers and make look really beautiful. Hey, maybe you can get involved with that. And so that's something that requires no programming skill at all. You know, it's really a matter of cutting and pasting strings, reproducing what you see, and sending it in to us. And that's cool, because in many cases we get the sizing wrong. We create a new dialogue, and it's set up to work nicely in, the native person's language or in English or whatever. And then it turns out that it's translated later by somebody who doesn't look at the dialogue as they translate it. And so then, shortly down the line, the user comes and says, my string is cut in the middle. I can't see the end of this. There's a button rammed over the label, this sort of thing. It's really lame. And we get loads of these. Each release, there's a dozen or so of these when we do a major release. And it's embarrassing. So it would be nice to fix that, make the dialogues more pretty, and, just add a lot of flexibility. And the guy doing this is absolutely cool. There's a good friend of mine, Quaylorn McNamara is how it's pronounced, so you can get to know him. And the thing is that we actually can't do that without help. We have 600 or so dialogues, and that's quite a lot of dialogues. So far we have 33 converted. The code only landed a couple of weeks, maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. And so it's an area where you can make a really big difference, a visible difference that helps people and makes everything look better. So 6 weeks to go before feature freeze. How many can we do? It should be easy, right? And this is interestingly one of the reasons why it's hard to turn LibreOffice into something very minimal. So the Firefox experience, where they threw away most of the product, the communicator product, and ripped out the mail client and all that sort of thing, and just focused on the browser is great. And I use it every day. It's lovely. But, of course, the amount of user interface they have, their surface is very, very small. In total, they have 30 or so dialogues tops. That's it. That's all of it. And, of course, without an editing interface, that makes a lot of sense. But in LibreOffice, where everything can have 5 different options and your layout can be tweaked in lots of ways, and there's all these... you can have a 3D shape and 5 lights around it, and you have to position them from every angle and change their color to get the right look for your document. We have some serious dialogue code. So it would be great to get help there. So, well, here are my conclusions. How am I doing for time? Did I finish before I started? Let me see. I think I was supposed to go on for an hour, but I did 45 minutes. 15 more, perfect. So we're still a very young project. There's still a lot to do. You can see the statistics and think, there's lots of people on the project. And it's true, but there's way more to do than we have people to do. And that's why we have the easy hacks, we have the page where you can see all of these things to get involved. But there's lots of space for newcomers to really shine. And it's great to go to the conference and see people who we'd never heard of, 6 months to a year ago, coming and giving presentations and, showing leadership and doing good things in some new area of the code. I find just that fantastically encouraging, It's nice to go and see that, there have been all these conferences in Japan, for example, where, people are setting up booths and printing stickers and handing them out and giving DVDs away and, and getting involved in some of the easy hacks, even though they're not programmers, and fixing problems that you just never knew about before you go to, see what they're doing. So there's a lot of excitement there, and things have really just begun. We have a huge cliff face of work to clean up this code base. We're moving really up from the bottom, and we're starting to get into the UI in places. But there's a lot of exciting things to come, and we would love to have you helping us drive that journey. So do get stuck in. Come and see me afterwards. Report your bugs. Get maybe involved in bug triage. Just confirming a few bugs. If everyone did one every day, we would have no unconfirmed bugs pretty quickly. So, thank you for your time and your patience. Thanks for using the product and supporting us. It's, as I say, impossible for us to do what we've done without your support. And thank you for coming to this talk. As they say, do we have any questions? Tomatoes to throw. Maybe. I say that, but at the conference I was just at, I foolishly blogged something about rubber bands. Do you know elastic bands? You put them around mail, snail mail. Anyway, you can fire them at people like this. Anyway, so I said this was what rubber bands were for. And so at the end of my talk at the conference, it turned out the audience had been primed to fire them at me. So, I had to take cover under the... But anyway, if you have questions, really, I'd love to help. If there's anything, go for it. Go for it. Sure. Okay. Okay. Oh, yeah. That's brilliant. So the question is, why aren't there sort of short videos to help people get involved, little tutorials to get stuck in? That's a really good question. So I get to write minutes of the engineering steering committee meetings we have. So there's a whole group of people who are really sort of doing very active work on the core, and we meet every week. And it seems that people have stopped asking questions because when they do, they get given an action item. So one of the reasons we don't have videos that show people how to get started is because you haven't made them. But yeah, if you can help with that, if there's someone that wants to do that, please do. What we have tried to do, and I don't know how the web works at this place, is there a magic SSID or something? How do I do it? Conference? Can someone... Okay. So if we're lucky, the DHCP timeout will, not be so long. There's a beautiful script here, and a friend of mine, Dan Williams, looked at it a few days back. And when you turn a whole classroom of PCs on, and they all request a DHCP address at the same time, there's a very small chance that something bad might happen. And so there's this in the spec, you have to fall off. I think fall back, a certain amount of time. Turns out there's a sleep 5, in the DHCP. Which wasn't sleep 5, it was a sleep random up to 5, I think, at one stage. So if you've often wondered why you're not getting an address very quickly, that might be it. So if we search for LibreOffice Easy Hacks, so the top page is that. Maybe that's because I'm logged in or something, and Google is watching my every keystroke. But so there are things like this, getting started. So yeah, I mean, you don't really need the login for Bugsy, only if you want to say. You want to do it. So beyond that, and some of the tasks you don't actually need to build LibreOffice at all. Translating German comments, we don't expect you to compile it because we're going to read your patch and make sure it won't break stuff. And so, the main thrust of it is just run the git clone, which takes a little while. I forget how big our repository is. I don't know how good the conference network is. It's quite big, the git thing. I think if you compact it, it's of several hundreds of megabytes and so on. But yeah, just grab that out, and then the real trick in building this is this sort of set of lines. So if you have an app-based distribution, basically what you want to do is get the dependency graph from the source package. So if you're a SUSE guy, you use Zypper, of course, and it rocks, and all that sort of thing. And so you can add your source repositories and enable them, and then just do this, and suddenly everything you need is there to build it. Because that everything is quite a big closure of packages often, and that's usually the thing people stumble over. And if you're not careful and you don't use this, what you do is you think, no, I don't need that, I'll just disable that, or I'll just disable that. And after doing this 50 times in configure, you end up with an unsupported thing that someone hasn't tested very recently, and it breaks in the middle. But yeah, some of the other things we have done in the past is try and create virtual machines, so you can just download the virtual machine and bing, there it is. But our building is getting not only quicker, and we've done a huge amount of work to parallelize the build. So, if you're doing server-level hardware and you've crept in and you want to test your server hardware, yeah, it's true the Linux kernel takes a few minutes to compile on a 1024 CPU machine, but we can provide a real workload that'll take much longer, and we can parallelize much wider, and we can compile Java, like 20 Java processes at the same time as 100, thousands even C++ processes, which are really, walloping your hardware. So I think this is a great soak test too. Does that help? Does that help? I mean, it's not a video. Oh, the Glade thing. Yeah, actually, that's a really good idea. Let me write that down. Glade video. I'll just do it like that, and then I'll have to come back. Because if I edit my to-do, it'll have something confidential in it, no doubt. And I can't remember what's in it. That's why I wrote it down. Anyhow, another question. This was a brilliant question. Thank you, sir. Sure. So, if you care about the Linux desktop, it seems to me that it's useful to have an Office suite. And personally, I do care about the Linux desktop, maybe out of misplaced optimism or something. But, I've been working on this for decades. And so that's one thing. If you want the Linux desktop to succeed, you need an Office suite. Maybe Google Docs does it, but personally, I have some struggles with that. It's good for simple things, and it's very good for collaboration. But perhaps it's not a complete solution. So that's one argument. The other argument is that there's money to be made. SUSE makes significant margin on our work on LibreOffice. Why is that? Because we have various other products that tie together with it. So if you buy GroupWise, you really need to buy an Office suite with it as well. So the way Microsoft prices their SKUs for clients means that you can't buy Outlook by itself or Office by itself. You buy them all together. And if you buy just Office, then you get the rights for the other thing for free. You know, it's also kind of, you know, the pricing and structure of the competitors we're up against mean that if you want to be in that market at all, you need a complete solution. And I think, say for Novell, SUSE's LibreOffice product is part of that complete solution that they provide. And then, of course, there's other huge things like, I mean, MIMO, you saw there, all these, these government institutions, they need a product that works and is compatible with the thing. So they're willing to pay for support and services around it. And we have a support services business at SUSE. Does that help? I mean, you know, it makes cash. You know, we're a funded division that is a positive contribution to SUSE's bottom line. So yeah, it's fun too. And of course, it's more fun when there are other people doing it. If you look at the pie chart of the breakdown of people contributing to LibreOffice, there's basically a big fight. This is a CND sign, maybe something like that. Anyway, so non-affiliated volunteers, I guess, is the biggest bit. That doesn't show up. Even better. Well, anyway, I'm drawing a pie chart, and yes, better. Perfect. Okay, now it'll be more convincing CND sign. So these are volunteers, and this is SUSE, and there's basically a fight between the volunteers and SUSE as to who's number one. At the moment, the volunteers are winning by like 2 or 3%, something like that. And then, there's Red Hat here. This is sort of in terms of commits. And then there's, Canonical and a number of random other people, the consultants that do development, and so on around it. So that's encouraging. That's in terms of the volume of commits. You saw the graph before that shows you how it breaks down as to actual people involved. Maybe that was miles away up here, something like that. So, in this picture, SUSE is this green line here. So for, we may be nearly a third of commits, but we're just wiped out by just the diversity of volunteers and individuals involved. And this is just the code. I mean, if you look at other areas, translation and so on, we're just wiped out. So it's great to work with these other partners. It's just, it's really fun. I enjoy my job. Each morning I go in, it's a privilege. So, did that help? Cool, good. I think we have time for 2 more short questions. So, 5 minutes, perfect. Anyone else? The torture can end if you don't ask a question. Gentleman at the back. That's an interesting question. Yeah. So, yes, I mean, so you can say a lot of things about that. I prefer to say positive things about what we're doing. So let me say some positive things about what we're doing. The nice thing about LibreOffice is that we are in control of our destiny. Those group of people that are there, become members of a legally binding Stiftung in Germany that gives strong rights to the members. That institution is representative of just our project. So what we want to do, we can do. There is no one saying, no, you can't do it. Or, no, our model is this, our way is that, and so on. And so broadly, we're in control. Now, there are a lot of other good projects out there. There are a lot of other good licenses out there. But what our project has chosen is to have a meritocratic governance which we control. And we're eager that we are not dominated by single companies, that we're not pushed around and told exactly what to do, because we experienced quite a lot of that in the past. If you want to see an abusive, dominance-based relationship structure, the previous project, OpenOffice, before it went to Apache, was a very good example of that. And so a number of those things feed into that. Personally, I love free software, and so I think a copyleft license, a weak copyleft license, is the best thing for this code. And so we've seen in the past, sadly, where we didn't have a copyleft license, people coming and then proprietizing their changes, shipping custom versions of their foo office, and not giving the code changes back, not giving the bug fixes back, not doing anything. And to me, that really sucks. I mean, it's more irritating than you can possibly imagine. And then lots of strategy meetings around it, and, we will collaborate if, and all of this sort of stuff. And I just, life is too short. I want to be hacking with a group of people that are like-minded and are going to contribute back, and are not going to sell proprietary products unless it's, tacked around the edge, but are going to collaborate cleanly on a core together as peers without this kind of nonsense. So for me, the structure we have is actually ideal. The licensing we have is designed to achieve that end, and I think it's a great place to develop. Having said all that, the choice of the Apache license is a reasonable one. We will rebase our code on top of it, so it gives us licensing flexibility, and we will use a weak copyleft license, the Mozilla Public license, which is a four-way license, so MPL, GPL, AGPL, LGPL, quadruple license. So that's the plan. But yeah, does that help? I can say nasty things too, but I prefer to say the nice things. Everyone wants to know who's right and who's wrong, and we will see. I think in terms of the diversity and dynamism and feature set that we're doing, and I'm sorry I don't have more slides about the features, it's some pretty cool stuff. So, does that bring us to the end, Friedrich? Thank you for your time. You've been very patient, and do come and see me and ask how you can get stuck in. It would be great to have you on the project. Thank you.